The metal sphere hung in space like a silver eye, watching Earth from the darkness between stars. Inside the observation station, Kythera pressed her blue-scaled fingers against the viewing panel and studied the small blue planet below. She had been watching the humans for 3 cycles now, documenting their violent nature for the Galactic Council's records. Another war has started, she said to her partner, Zextai, who floated nearby in his environmental suit. His species needed different air to breathe. The humans are fighting again, this time in what they call the Middle East. Zextai's tentacles moved in what his people considered a shrug. They always fight. That is why we keep them locked away from the civilized galaxy. Can you imagine if we let these creatures loose among peaceful worlds? Kythera nodded but felt something strange in her chest. Her people had removed most emotions long ago, but sometimes she wondered what it would be like to feel the way humans did. Their records showed humans experience something called anger, fear, and love. These feelings made them unpredictable and dangerous, but also interesting. The Council had been watching Earth for almost 1,000 years. 12 different alien species worked together to keep the galaxy safe and peaceful. They had eliminated war, hunger, and disease from their worlds. Every Council citizen lived in perfect harmony, their minds adjusted to remove violent thoughts. Earth was different. Humans killed each other over pieces of land, different beliefs and resources. They poisoned their own air and water. They created weapons that could destroy their entire planet. The Council's scientists called them exceptionally violent and recommended keeping them locked away for at least 2,000 more years. Look at this, Kythera said, pointing to her screen. They are testing new weapons again. These humans learn so quickly, but they only learn how to hurt each other better. What Kythera did not know was that far below on Earth, Dr. Elena Vasquez was also watching, but she was not watching the war. She was watching the silver sphere that Kythera thought was invisible. Elena sat in an underground room beneath the Nevada desert. Banks of computers surrounded her, their screens showing information that would have surprised the aliens above. Charts tracked the movement of Council ships. Diagrams showed the design of alien technology. Most importantly, translation programs worked day and night to understand alien languages. "Ma'am, we have movement on Satellite 7, said a young technician. The Council ship is changing position. Elena nodded and typed commands into her computer. 63 years ago, humans had first detected the alien watchers. Instead of panicking or trying to make contact, the world's governments had done something the aliens never expected. They had decided to watch back. A secret group formed, including scientists, soldiers, and spies from every major nation. They called it the Xenotechnology Division. Their job was simple: learn everything about the aliens while making sure the aliens learned nothing true about humans. "Any word from the infiltration team?" Elena asked. Team 3 successfully planted listening devices on the Council station near Jupiter. Team 7 is still working on hacking their computer systems. Elena smiled. The aliens were so confident in their technology that they never imagined humans could break into their systems. But humans had one advantage the Council had forgotten about. Humans were very good at lying, cheating, and finding ways around rules. The Council had removed these abilities from their own people thousands of years ago. Commander James Chen walked into the room carrying a cup of coffee. His military uniform showed no rank or country markings. In this room, old enemies worked together against a threat none of them had imagined. "The latest intelligence reports are in," James said, setting down a thick folder. "We have confirmed the Council has something called a sterilization protocol. When they decide a species will never become civilized, they eliminate them completely." Elena felt her stomach turn cold. "How many species have they eliminated?" "At least 47 that we can confirm. Maybe more." The room became very quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. The Council was not just watching humanity to see if they would become peaceful. They were deciding whether to kill every human being alive. "There is good news," James continued. "Our spy satellites show the Council military is not prepared for real war. They have big ships, but their crews have never fought anyone who could fight back. They are used to scaring primitive species or bombing defenseless planets." Elena pulled up a holographic display showing Council ship designs. The alien vessels were impressive and beautiful, but they were built for show rather than combat. Their hulls were thin. Their weapons were designed to terrify rather than destroy quickly, and their crews had no training in real battle tactics. They think of war the way we think of a museum exhibit, she said, something old and primitive that civilized people do not do anymore. Meanwhile, on the council station, High Arbiter Veltaroth was reading the latest reports from Earth. He was ancient even by council standards, having lived for over 2,000 years. His golden skin had the texture of old leather, and his eyes had seen the rise and fall of dozens of species. The humans show no signs of improvement, he said to the assembled council representatives. Each species had sent their best scientists and leaders to this meeting. If anything, they are becoming more dangerous. Their weapons are more powerful, their wars more destructive. Perhaps it is time to consider the final option, suggested the representative from the Kretal Empire. Her insect-like features showed no emotion as she spoke of genocide. I agree, said another council member. We have given them nearly 1,000 years to evolve beyond violence. They have failed. For the safety of all civilized worlds, the sterilization protocol should be activated. Veltaroth considered this carefully. He had ordered the destruction of species before, but something about the humans bothered him. Their wars were terrible, yes, but they also showed remarkable creativity and determination. Still, the safety of the galaxy had to come first. Very well, he said finally. Begin preparations for Operation Cleansing Light. We will give the humans one final evaluation. If they fail, we will do what must be done. Back on Earth, Elena received the intercepted communication within hours. The aliens were planning to kill everyone she had ever known or loved. But instead of fear, she felt something the Council would never understand. She felt angry, and anger made humans dangerous. Send word to all teams, she ordered. Operation Mirror is now active. It is time to show these watchers what it feels like to be watched. Around the world, human agents moved into position. Some were hidden in deep space aboard ships built with stolen alien technology. Others worked in secret bases on Earth, preparing weapons the Council could not imagine. Still others were already among the aliens themselves, disguised as refugees from other worlds the Council had destroyed. The humans had learned something important from studying the Council. These aliens were predictable because they were perfect. They always did the logical thing, the peaceful thing, the civilized thing. But humans were not logical or civilized. Humans were survivors, and survivors did whatever it took to live. As Cathera watched Earth through her viewing panel, she did not know that human eyes were watching her back. She did not know that every move the Council made was being recorded, analyzed, and countered. She did not know that the primitive species she studied had been preparing for war against her people for over 60 years. The Council thought they were deciding humanity's fate. They did not realize that humanity had already decided theirs. The war in Syria looked like every other human conflict to the Council observers. Explosions lit up the night sky, soldiers moved through ruined cities, and civilians fled from the violence. What the aliens did not see was that this war was different. Every bullet fired, every strategy used, and every weapon tested was designed for a very specific enemy. Captain Sarah Martinez crouched behind a concrete wall in Damascus, but her real target was not the enemy soldiers across the street. Her target was orbiting Earth in a metal sphere, watching everything through sensors that thought they were invisible. "Falcon Team, this is Eagle Eye," came the voice in her earpiece. "Council satellite is directly overhead, time to give them a show." Sarah smiled and signaled to her team. They had trained for this moment for years. Every member of her unit knew they were not just fighting human enemies. They were testing tactics against an alien force that might one day try to destroy their planet. The weapons they carried looked like normal military gear, but they were anything but normal. The rifles fired bullets made from materials reverse-engineered from Council technology. The explosives created specific electromagnetic pulses designed to disrupt alien electronics. Even their body armor was built to protect against energy weapons the Council did not know humans understood. "Beginning test sequence 7, Sarah whispered into her radio. "Adaptive camouflage active." To the Council observers, Sarah's team simply vanished. Their sensors could no longer detect the human soldiers, who now appeared invisible to both human and alien technology. The Council scientists watching from space made notes about human stealth capabilities, not knowing they were seeing technology stolen from their own ships. 3,000 miles away, Dr. Elena Vasquez watched the test results on her screens. The data was perfect. Human soldiers could now hide from Council sensors, move unseen past their defenses, and strike without warning. "How many teams are currently field testing?" she asked her assistant. 47 active teams across 12 conflict zones, came the reply. Afghanistan, Iraq, Yemen, Somalia, Ukraine, and 7 other locations. Every test is being monitored by Council satellites. Elena nodded. The plan was working perfectly. For decades, humans had been fighting wars that looked chaotic and primitive to alien observers. But every conflict was actually a carefully controlled laboratory where humanity tested weapons and tactics for fighting technologically superior enemies. The Council saw human warfare as proof of their violent nature. They did not realize they were watching the most advanced military training program in galactic history. Commander James Chen stood before a holographic map showing every Council ship in the solar system. Red dots marked alien positions while blue dots showed human forces. What would have shocked the Council was that there were far more blue dots than red ones. "Report on Operation Ghost Fleet," he ordered. A young officer stepped forward. "Sir, we now have 300 stealth ships in position throughout the outer solar system. Council sensors cannot detect them. Each ship carries enough firepower to destroy a Council dreadnought." "What about our infiltration teams?" 43 agents are now successfully integrated into Council society. They appear to be refugees from species the Council eliminated. The aliens suspect nothing. James felt a grim satisfaction. While the Council watched humanity and judged them as primitive, humans had been systematically infiltrating alien society. It was not difficult. The Council species were so used to peace and trust that they had forgotten how to spot lies or deception. Human agents lived among the aliens, learned their languages, studied their technology, and most importantly, discovered their weaknesses. What they found was both surprising and terrifying. The Council species had made themselves perfect by removing everything that made them strong. They could not lie, so they could not imagine others lying to them. They felt no fear, so they never prepared for real danger. They experienced no anger, so they never fought with real determination. Most shocking of all, they could not feel pain the way humans did. The Council considered pain an inefficient emotion and had eliminated it from their biology. This meant they had no natural response to injury or damage. In battle, a wounded Council soldier would continue following orders even while dying, but they would not fight harder or find hidden strength the way humans did. Dr. Rebecca Zhang worked in a laboratory beneath the Swiss Alps, studying captured Council technology. Her team had been reverse engineering alien devices for 40 years, improving on designs that the Council thought were impossible to understand. "The quantum tunneling drive is ready for testing," she reported to Elena via secure communication. "We can now move faster than Council ships and appear anywhere in the galaxy without warning." "What about their defensive systems?" "Completely bypassed. Council shields are designed to stop energy weapons and physical projectiles. They never considered kinetic weapons fired through quantum tunnels. Our new missiles can materialize inside their ships and explode before their computers even detect an attack." Elena felt another piece of the puzzle click into place. Humanity was not just matching Council technology. They were surpassing it by thinking in ways the aliens could not imagine. On the Council station, Kythara was beginning to feel something her species had eliminated long ago. Doubt crept into her mind as she watched the latest reports from Earth. "Something is wrong with the human data," she told Zextai. "Their technology is advancing too quickly. Look at these energy readings from their latest weapons tests." Zextai examined the information with the calm logic his people prized. "The progression seems unusual, but humans are known for rapid technological development. Perhaps we are witnessing natural evolution of their capabilities." But Kythara could not shake the feeling that they were missing something important. Her scientific training told her that the patterns she was seeing were impossible. Humans seemed to be developing technology specifically designed to counter Council advantages. "I want to request additional surveillance," she said. "Something about their recent activities suggests coordination on a global scale." "Impossible," Zextai replied immediately. "Humans are too primitive and violent to coordinate globally. They can barely cooperate within their own nations." What Zextai did not know was that humanity had been cooperating globally for over 60 years. Every major nation had contributed to the Xenotechnology Division. Former enemies shared technology, intelligence, and resources in preparation for a threat that made their earthly conflicts seem small. The Moscow Institute worked with American laboratories. Chinese manufacturing facilities produced components designed by European scientists. Middle Eastern oil-funded research stations in Antarctica. For the first time in human history, the entire species was working toward a single goal. High Arbiter. Velteroth reviewed the final preparations for Operation Cleansing Light. 12 massive dreadnoughts were being prepared, one representing each council species. The ships were designed to inspire awe and terror in primitive civilizations. Their appearance alone had convinced dozens of species to surrender without fighting. The fleet will arrive in the human system in 30 standard days, he announced to the council assembly. They will offer the humans one final chance to demonstrate peaceful evolution. If the humans fail this test, the sterilization protocol will be implemented immediately. The council members nodded their approval. None of them questioned the plan because none of them could imagine failure. The council had never lost a war because they had never fought an enemy capable of real resistance. What they did not know was that 30 days was exactly the amount of time humanity needed to complete their preparations. In her underground command center, Elena Vasquez watched the countdown timer on her main screen. 30 days until the council arrived. 30 days until humanity would either prove themselves worthy of survival or face complete extinction. But Elena was not afraid. Fear was for those who faced unknown dangers. The council was not unknown anymore. Humanity had studied them, infiltrated them, and prepared for them. The aliens thought they were coming to judge a primitive species. Instead, they were walking into the most carefully planned ambush in galactic history. "Send the activation signal to all teams," Elena ordered. "It is time to spring the trap." The council fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system, like 12 golden daggers piercing the darkness. Each dreadnought was over 3 kilometers long, their hulls gleaming with precious metals and advanced alloys. They moved in perfect formation, broadcasting messages of peace and civilization on all frequencies. Admiral Kethvar stood on the bridge of the flagship, his forearms folded behind his back as he studied the primitive solar system before them. As a member of the oldest council species, he had overseen the evaluation of 17 different worlds. Some had submitted peacefully, others had required more direct intervention. "Begin standard evaluation protocol," he commanded. "Full sensor sweep of the target system. I want complete data on human technology levels, population centers, and military capabilities." The sensor officer, a crystalline being whose body sparkled with internal light, worked at their station with methodical precision. "Sir, the scans are unusual." "Explain." "I am detecting no electromagnetic signatures from the third planet. No satellite networks, no space stations, no orbital facilities. It appears completely dead." Admiral Kethvar frowned. This was not normal. When the council arrived to evaluate a species, they usually found frantic activity as the primitives tried to hide their weapons or flee their planet. But Earth showed no signs of life at all. "Are you certain the humans have not already destroyed themselves?" he asked. "Unknown, sir. We are detecting no radiation that would indicate a planetary war, but all previous surveillance indicated a population of over 7 billion humans with extensive technological infrastructure." On the bridge of the second dreadnought, Kythera felt that strange emotion again. Something was very wrong with this situation. Humans did not simply vanish. They were too stubborn and too numerous to just disappear. "Request permission to launch." "Advanced reconnaissance probes," she said to her ship's commander. "Granted, but maintain standard protocols. Do not approach closer than the 4th planet until we understand what happened here." The probes launched from multiple ships, spreading out across the solar system like metal insects seeking prey. They were equipped with the most advanced sensors in the galaxy, capable of detecting life signs from millions of kilometers away. What they found defied explanation. "Sir," reported the probe operator, "I am reading massive artificial structures throughout the asteroid belt. but they are not showing up on our main sensors. Admiral Kethvar moved to examine the data personally. The readings made no sense. The probes were detecting metal, electronics, and energy signatures, but the main ship sensors saw only rocks and ice. Could the humans have developed some form of advanced stealth technology? He wondered aloud. Impossible, replied his science officer. Our intelligence indicates they have barely achieved fusion power. Stealth technology requires quantum manipulation capabilities far beyond their level. What none of them knew was that every asteroid in the belt was actually a human warship, disguised using technology reverse-engineered from Council systems and improved with human innovation. 3,000 vessels waited in perfect silence, their crews trained for this moment through decades of preparation. On the flagship of the hidden fleet, Captain Rodriguez watched the Council ships approach through sensors that could see them perfectly, while remaining completely invisible. Her ship looked like a large asteroid from the outside, but inside it contained enough firepower to destroy a small moon. All ships report ready, whispered her communications officer. Council fleet is maintaining standard formation. No indication they suspect our presence. Captain Rodriguez smiled grimly. The Council was making every mistake the human strategists had predicted. They were overconfident, predictable, and completely unprepared for real warfare. Dr. Vasquez, she said into her secure communication system. Council fleet is in position, awaiting your orders. Deep beneath Antarctica, in a bunker that did not officially exist, Elena Vasquez watched the tactical display showing both fleets. 63 years of preparation had led to this moment. Humanity's survival hung in the balance, but Elena felt strangely calm. All teams, this is Control, she said into her microphone. Remember, we are not just fighting for Earth. We are fighting for every species the Council has eliminated, and every species they might eliminate in the future. Show them what happens when they threaten a species that refuses to give up. The signal went out across the solar system in an instant. Admiral Kethvar was studying a report when his science officer suddenly shouted in alarm. Sir, massive energy signatures throughout the system. I count over 3,000 artificial objects that were not there moments ago. Impossible. Run full diagnostics on all sensor systems. Sir, diagnostics complete. All systems functioning normally. The objects are real. They appear to be spacecraft of unknown design. Before the Admiral could respond, every screen on every Council ship displayed the same image. A human woman with graying hair and kind eyes appeared before them, speaking in perfect Council standard language. Greetings, members of the Galactic Council, Dr. Elena Vasquez said calmly. My name is Elena Vasquez, and I represent the species you came here to evaluate. Before you make your final judgment, there are a few things you should know. The image shifted to show human agents working among Council citizens. Aliens who looked like refugees from destroyed worlds were revealed to be humans in disguise, operating equipment, accessing computers, and moving freely through Council society. First, you should know that we have been watching you for quite some time. Your observation satellites are excellent technology, but you left them unguarded. We have been intercepting your communications, studying your ships, and learning your weaknesses for over 60 years. The display changed again, showing detailed blueprints of Council vessels with their weak points marked in red. Second, you should know that every war you observed on Earth was a training exercise. We have been preparing specifically to fight technologically superior enemies who rely on overwhelming force rather than tactical flexibility. Admiral Kethvar felt something he had never experienced before. Fear began to creep into his perfectly conditioned mind as he realized the impossible truth. The primitives had been hunting the hunters. Finally, Elena continued, you should know that we have already won this engagement. Your ships are surrounded, your weapons are targeted, and your escape routes are blocked. But unlike you, we believe in giving our enemies a choice. The transmission ended, leaving the Council fleet in stunned silence. Status report, Admiral Kethvar shouted. Sir, we are completely surrounded. Human vessels have materialized at optimal firing positions around our entire fleet. Our weapons are targeted, our engines are locked onto by what appear to be quantum torpedoes. and our communication systems are being jammed. How is this possible? How could primitives develop such technology? From the science station came a voice filled with something the council had eliminated from their species long ago, wonder mixed with terror. Sir, I believe they developed it by studying us. These weapons and tactics are based on our own technology, but modified in ways our designers never considered. The human fleet maintained perfect position around the council ships. No threats were made, no demands issued. They simply waited with the patience of a species that had spent decades planning this moment. On his flagship, Admiral Kethvar faced a choice no council commander had ever confronted. Surrender to a species they had come to judge or fight a battle they had no chance of winning. Open a communication channel, he said finally. Sir, the humans are jamming all frequencies except one. They appear to be controlling what communications we can send. The Admiral understood the message. Even their ability to call for help was at humanity's mercy. The primitives had thought of everything. Sir, his tactical officer said quietly, what are your orders? For the first time in over 1,000 years of service, Admiral Kethvar had no answer. The council had never prepared him for this situation, because they never believed such a situation could exist. In the hidden human fleet, Captain Rodriguez waited for her next orders. Around her, 3,000 other human ships maintained their positions with perfect discipline. They had achieved something impossible, a complete reversal of the galactic balance of power. But the real test was just beginning. What humanity did next would determine not just their own survival, but the future of every species in the galaxy. The hunters had become the hunted, and the council was about to learn what it meant to face an enemy that refused to surrender. The council's emergency session convened within hours of losing contact with the evaluation fleet. High Arbiter Velteroth stood before the assembled representatives, his ancient face showing confusion for the first time in centuries. The situation was impossible, yet it was happening. 12 dreadnoughts completely disabled, he announced to the shocked assembly. No casualties reported, but all ships are under human control. The primitives have demanded a direct communication with this council. The insect-like representative from the Cretal Empire clicked her mandibles in agitation. This cannot be accurate. Our intelligence shows humans possess only crude nuclear weapons and basic spaceflight. Our intelligence was wrong, Velteroth replied grimly. The humans have been deceiving us for decades. They have technology that surpasses our own in several key areas. A holographic display activated in the center of the chamber, showing Dr. Elena Vasquez sitting calmly at a desk. Behind her, humans in military uniforms monitored banks of computers and communication equipment. Honored members of the Galactic Council, Elena began, speaking in flawless council standard language. I am Dr. Elena Vasquez, Director of Humanity's Xenotechnology Division. I believe we need to have a conversation about the future of this galaxy. The council members sat in stunned silence. They had never been addressed as equals by a species they considered primitive. Your evaluation fleet is safe and unharmed, Elena continued. Your crews are being treated according to the highest standards of prisoner care. They are experiencing something your species eliminated long ago, the uncertainty of being completely dependent on their enemy's mercy. Velteroth leaned forward in his ornate chair. What do you want, human? I want to show you something, Elena replied. The display changed to show footage from inside a council ship. Human soldiers moved through the corridors with perfect precision. But what shocked the council was not the invasion itself. It was how easily it had been accomplished. The footage showed council crew members standing calmly as humans took control of their ship. No resistance, no panic, no attempt to fight back. The aliens simply accepted their capture with the same peaceful compliance they showed in all aspects of their lives. Your people do not know how to fight, Elena observed. You have spent so many generations eliminating conflict that you have forgotten how to respond when conflict finds you. The display shifted again, showing human agents who had been living among council populations for years. Men and women who had posed as refugees, merchants, researchers, and diplomats. They had moved freely through the most secure facilities in council space. Agent Thompson here has been working in your primary military research facility for 6 years, Elena said, pointing to a man who waved at the camera. Agent Chen has been living on your capital world for 8 years, married to a council citizen, with 2 children who think their father is a refugee from a destroyed world. The horror of the revelation struck the council like a physical blow. Their perfect society had been completely infiltrated by the very species they thought they were protecting the galaxy from. "How many?" whispered the representative from the Veldan Confederacy. 837 agents currently active throughout Council space, Elena replied matter-of-factly. They have been gathering intelligence, sabotaging key systems, and preparing for this day since before most of you were born. She paused to let that information settle before continuing. Every supply shortage you experienced in the last decade, every computer malfunction, every transportation delay that seemed like random bad luck, was actually part of our preparation. We have been slowly weakening your infrastructure while you watched us fight each other on Earth. The implications were staggering. The Council's perfect predictive models, their efficient supply chains, their seamless communication networks, had all been compromised for years without anyone noticing. On the Council flagship, now under human control, Kythera found herself in the strange position of being a prisoner on her own ship. The humans had been polite but firm, confining all Council personnel to designated areas while they studied alien technology. Commander James Chen walked through the ship's corridors, examining systems that humanity had been observing from the outside for decades. Now they could see how everything actually worked. "Report from the engineering teams?" he asked his aide. "Sir, this technology is impressive but fragile. Everything is built for maximum efficiency rather than durability. A few targeted electromagnetic pulses would disable the entire ship. What about their weapons? Designed for intimidation rather than effectiveness. They prioritize spectacular displays over actual destructive capability. Our analysis suggests these ships could not win a fight against opponents who shoot back." James nodded grimly. The Council had built their military for show, not for war. They were used to facing species that surrendered immediately when confronted with superior technology. Back in the Council chamber, Veltroth struggled to understand how his perfect civilization had been so completely outmaneuvered. "What do you propose, human?" "What are your terms?" Elena's expression became serious. "We propose that the galaxy needs new management. Your Council has eliminated 47 species that you deem too violent to survive. How many of those species might have contributed something valuable to galactic civilization, if given the chance?" The accusation hung in the air like poison. The Council had always justified their actions as necessary for the greater good, but hearing it spoken aloud by their victims made it sound like genocide. "Furthermore," Elena continued, "your policy of perfecting species by removing their competitive instincts has left them vulnerable to external threats. You have created a galaxy full of sheep and eliminated all the wolves. What happens when real predators arrive from outside our galaxy?" She gestured to another display showing star maps that extended beyond known Council space. "Our deep space probes have detected signs of expanding civilizations beyond the galactic rim. Some show technology signatures that suggest they have not eliminated their competitive instincts. When they arrive, how will your perfect species defend themselves?" The question struck at the heart of Council philosophy. They had assumed that eliminating violence would create a safe, stable galaxy. But what if violence was sometimes necessary for survival? "You are asking us to fundamentally change our entire civilization," said the representative from the Zixtal Collective. "No," Elena replied firmly. "We are telling you that your civilization is going to change whether you want it to or not. The question is whether you adapt willingly or face the same choice you gave us, evolve or be eliminated." The threat was clear but delivered without malice. Humanity was offering the Council the same opportunity they had given other species, but with one crucial difference. Humans understood that true evolution meant adapting to challenges, not eliminating them. "What would this new galaxy look like?" Velteroth asked quietly. "Diverse," Elena replied immediately. "Species would be judged by their contributions, not their compliance. Conflict would be managed, not eliminated. Competition would drive innovation instead of being seen as a primitive behavior." She paused and looked directly at each Council representative. "Most importantly, no single group would have the power to decide which species deserve to exist. That kind of authority corrupts even the most well-intentioned civilization." The chamber fell silent as the Council members considered this unprecedented situation. For the first time in their history, they were being offered a choice by a species they had intended to eliminate. "And if we refuse?" asked the Cretal representative. Elena's expression did not change, but her words carried the weight of absolute certainty. "Then you will discover what it feels like to be on the other side of a sterilization protocol. The difference is that we will give you the same chance to fight for your survival that you never gave the 47 species you eliminated." The message was clear. Humanity had not just achieved military superiority, they had turned the Council's own methods against them. The hunters had become the hunted, and the galaxy's most powerful civilization now faced the same terrible choice they had forced on so many others. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Galactic Council faced an uncertain future, and in that uncertainty, some members began to feel something their species had forgotten: the desire to survive at any cost. 6 months after the confrontation at Earth, the galaxy looked very different. The Council's perfect order had crumbled like a house built on sand, replaced by something messier but infinitely more alive. Kythera stood in what had once been the Council's primary research facility, now transformed into the headquarters of the new Galactic Federation. Around her, beings from dozens of species worked together in ways that would have horrified the old Council. Former enemies debated loudly, competitors shared resources grudgingly, and everywhere there was the kind of productive chaos that the Council had spent millennia trying to eliminate. "The psychological reconditioning is complete," she reported to Dr. Elena Vasquez, who now served as the Federation's Director of Species Integration. "I can feel anger, fear, curiosity, and even joy. It is overwhelming, but somehow right." Elena smiled as she reviewed reports from across the galaxy. The transition had not been easy. Some Council species had adapted quickly to their restored emotions and competitive instincts. Others struggled with feelings they had not experienced for thousands of years. A few had rejected the changes entirely and retreated to isolated worlds where they could maintain their artificial perfection. "How are the liberation efforts proceeding?" Elena asked. "Better than expected," replied Commander James Chen, who now coordinated military operations for the Federation. "We have successfully contacted 31 species that were quarantined by the Council. Most are eager to join the galactic community as equals rather than subjects." The map on Elena's wall showed the rapid expansion of Federation territory. Red zones marked areas still under old Council control. Blue zones showed Federation worlds, and green zones indicated newly liberated species territories. The galaxy was becoming a patchwork of different philosophies and approaches to civilization. "Any word from the Resistance worlds?" Elena asked. James nodded grimly. "The Veldan Confederacy and the Cretal Empire are still refusing to integrate. They have formed their own alliance and are trying to rebuild the old Council system in the Outer Rim territories." This had been expected. Not every species would willingly give up the power and security of the old system. Some genuinely believed that their way was better, while others simply could not imagine existing without the rigid hierarchy that had defined their civilization for millennia. "Let them try," Elena said simply. "They will learn the same lesson we taught the original Council. Stagnation is death, even if it looks like perfection." On the former Council capital world, High Arbiter Veltaroth walked through gardens that no longer looked perfectly manicured. Weeds grew between the carefully planned flowers. Insects buzzed with chaotic energy, and small animals scurried about their business without regard for aesthetic harmony. He found it surprisingly beautiful. "You have adapted well to the changes," said a voice behind him. Veltaroth turned to see Captain Rodriguez, the human who had commanded the fleet that defeated his forces. She was now the Federation's military liaison to former Council worlds. "I am over 2,000 years old," Veltaroth replied, his voice carrying a weariness that would have been impossible under the old emotional conditioning. "I have seen civilizations rise and fall, species evolve and go extinct. Perhaps it was time for me to evolve as well." They walked together through the chaotic garden, an ancient alien and a human soldier finding common ground in the ruins of a perfect civilization. "Do you regret what your people did?" Rodriguez asked directly. Veltaroth considered the question carefully. Under the old conditioning, he would have given an immediate, logical response. Now he felt the weight of genuine guilt for the first time in centuries. "Yes," he said finally. "We eliminated 47 species because we thought we knew what was best for the galaxy. We never considered that our definition of perfection might be wrong. The galaxy is big enough for many different definitions of perfection, Rodriguez replied. That is what we are trying to build now. Across the galaxy, the effects of humanity's revolution continued to spread. On a world that had been quarantined for 800 years, beings that looked like mobile crystals experienced spaceflight for the first time in generations. Their technology had stagnated under Council observation, but now they were free to explore, expand, and take risks. On another world, a species of aquatic beings who had been deemed too aggressive for Council civilization were sharing their advances in biotechnology with former Council scientists. Their competitive nature, once seen as a flaw, had driven innovations that were now benefiting dozens of species. The liberation of quarantined species had revealed a truth that shook the foundations of Council philosophy. Many of the supposedly primitive civilizations had continued to advance during their isolation. Some had developed technologies that surpassed Council achievements in specific areas. Their crime had not been lack of intelligence or capability, but simply refusing to abandon the traits that made them unique. Dr. Rebecca Zhang, now director of the Federation's Technology Sharing Program, stood before a mixed audience of humans and aliens as she announced the latest breakthrough. By combining human quantum manipulation with Zixtel biotechnology and Veldan computational methods, we have achieved faster-than-light travel that is 30% more efficient than anything the old Council possessed, she announced to enthusiastic applause. The success demonstrated the core principle of the new Federation. Diversity was not just tolerated but actively encouraged because different approaches to problems led to better solutions. Not everything went smoothly. The restoration of competitive instincts to Council species led to conflicts that required careful management. Some former Council worlds experienced their first wars in millennia, as old grievances surfaced and new rivalries developed. But humans had learned to manage conflict without eliminating it entirely. They established mediation protocols, created outlets for competitive energy through sports and academic challenges, and most importantly, ensured that no single species could dominate others the way the Council had. The difference, Elena explained to a gathering of Federation leaders, is that we see conflict as a tool for growth rather than a problem to be eliminated. Properly managed competition drives innovation, reveals weaknesses, and forces constant adaptation. The old Council chamber had been converted into a meeting hall where representatives from over 60 species gathered to debate, argue, and occasionally reach consensus on galactic issues. The perfect harmony of Council meetings had been replaced by messy, loud, passionate discussions that somehow produced better results. Kithara, now serving as the Federation's chief xenobiologist, presented her latest research to the Assembly. Our studies show that species with restored competitive instincts show innovation rates 50 times higher than their previous levels. They are also developing better defensive capabilities and more robust social structures. The evidence was overwhelming. The galaxy under Federation management was more chaotic, more unpredictable, and infinitely more alive than it had been under Council control. On Earth, monuments had been erected to the 47 eliminated species. Each memorial contained a pledge that such genocide would never again be committed in the name of galactic peace. Children learned about the species that had been lost and the importance of protecting diversity in all its forms. Elena Vasquez, now in her 70s, stood before the largest memorial as the sun set over the Nevada desert. The same underground facility where humanity had planned its rebellion now served as the Federation's Earth headquarters. "Ma'am," said her young aide, "the quarterly report shows continued growth in Federation membership. 3 more species have joined this month and the Economic Cooperation Index is at an all-time high." Elena nodded, but her attention was focused on the stars appearing in the darkening sky. Somewhere out there, beyond the galactic rim, other civilizations were expanding toward them. When they arrived, they would find not a galaxy of sheep ruled by shepherds, but a diverse collection of wolves, eagles, sharks, and every other kind of survivor evolution had produced. "The real test is still coming," she murmured to herself. "Ma'am?" "Nothing," Elena smiled. "Just thinking about the future. For the first time in a long time, I think we are ready for whatever comes next." The galaxy had learned a hard lesson about the price of perfection. True civilization was not about eliminating challenges, but about growing strong enough to face them. Humanity had shattered the illusion of perfect peace, and in its place built something far more valuable, a civilization that could evolve, adapt, and survive whatever the universe might send their way. The Council had paid the price for their rigid perfection, but from their fall had risen something better, a galaxy where being different was not a crime, where competition drove progress, and where the future belonged to those brave enough to face it with all their flaws intact. In the end, humanity had not conquered the galaxy. They had freed it to become what it was always meant to be, beautifully, chaotically, perfectly imperfect.